This episode of The Answer is Yes Baja Sessions is brought to you by Baja Bound Insurance Services. Driving to Mexico? You can buy and print out your Mexican auto insurance policy online in minutes with their easy-to-use website. They also have great travel information to help you plan your trip south of the border. Visit bajabound.com.
Hello, this is Ryan Thomas, and you're listening to the Baja Sessions. Over the last 3 decades, I've lived, worked, and played from the top to the tip of the majestic peninsula of Baja California. And because of this, I've met some incredibly interesting people with equally interesting stories. And today on the Baja Sessions, we're going to chat with one of them. All right, I got Bill Caswell on the Baja Sessions, and just a little disclaimer for the listeners. Bill and I have been chatting already for probably about an hour. I don't know what's happening on your end, but I will tell you I'm not drinking, so this is a full sober conversation from my end so far.
Same here, man.
But I don't think it's going to matter. So Bill Caswell, here I'm going to make a quick statement, and the statement is investment banker to build race party.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, and I'm going to say that you are somewhat notorious or famous, if you want to use those words, for your $500 Craigslist BMW campaign at WRC Mexico.
Yep.
And then right along with that is your SEMA build of a BMW Baja Pig that you eventually took to the Baja 1000. Is that a good way to sum up Bill Caswell, at least in his current state?
Yeah, that's actually really accurate, especially if you just see it from the motorsports side, right? Those are the big races I did. But it was really it all started when I proposed to my girl and quit my job for a year and wanted to go race cars. I never had the time to do long races. I could go do an autocross, I could do a track day weekend, but as a banker, I couldn't tow to the races and get back in time. It would burn like all my vacation in one race. So I proposed and begged for a year just to go car racing. And that's what
okay, I'm going to interrupt you.
Car.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Did you propose,
Yeah.
and was she independently wealthy, and your plan was to she was going to support the habit, or did you stockpile enough
I've been
dough,
a banker for 5 years.
Okay, yeah.
I went to University of Chicago when I graduated. It was the number one rated business school like in the world. I did like the first ever securitization bond deal in the history of China. Like, no, I was like killing it. You know, I had a chrome orange Lotus. I was the proper banker dickhead guy, one of those dudes. And then, so I bought her a huge ring and was like, look, I want to go rally racing, and I want to live at the base of a mountain. I always wanted to be a lifty. And like my parents my dad was a lawyer, my mom grew up all fancy. There's no way they're going to let me live at a mountain in my early 20s. So I was like, give me a year to do this, and then I'll be like a good husband. I'll sit back in the cubicle and print money, and we'll raise a family. But I need a year to go car racing and ski and like live my dreams. And then 9 months later, she freaked out, and me and my friends looked for the biggest race that we could find for my rally car. And we're watching TV, and they mentioned that Mexico round's coming up next month. And I looked at my friends, I'm like, I can tow to that. Like, my car doesn't have to get on an airplane. I just drive down there and try to get in the back of the field. And that's how that whole thing started. And then Jeremy Renner bought my life rights to turn into a movie. And I spent like my spring turning my life into a script.
Wait, back up. Hold on, back up. Did you just leave your fiance? I mean, she left her in the dust, and it didn't work out.
No, I mean, we met at business school, and so she had her MBA too, but she also got knocked out her MD, so she was on her way to be a doctor.
Okay.
And right as this was all happening,
a bunch of high achievers here. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't race cars and you just read books and go to work every day, a lot of stuff happens. But and then she got accepted into a cosmetic derm fellowship in La Jolla. So she was going to California for a year anyway. And I'm like, look, you're never going to be here. Like, I'm just going to move into my mom's house and my buddies, and we're going to build a race car and just go have fun. You won't even know. And, so that's kind of how that happened. So we were both sort of running our own program, and, she was going to go make a ton of cash. And I'm like, once the movie thing happened, I'm like, you're going to be a cosmetic derm. You're going to make so much money. Like, you hit the home runs. I'm going to go hit singles and doubles. If we have kids, I'll raise them. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a reverse of what the original plan was. But I don't know. It's just once we went out of WRC Mexico. Yeah. And then, we ended up getting married like 4 years after I proposed. We finally got married, and a year later got divorced. So Yeah.
Okay. Well, and now you've skimmed over something else real fast that
yeah, what's that?
I'm super curious about, and it seems like it could be life-changing. I mean, I have no idea about the financial side of it, but you sold your life rights to Paramount with Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So yeah, where does that fit into the whole picture? And where's the movie? Is it out yet, or did it get derailed?
No.
Let's dive into that a little bit.
What happened was you signed like an option agreement for them to like option your rights, and with that, then you write the script, which is hysterical. I've got like a 200-page script in my life. Every time I read it, I either cry or laugh, but it's so ridiculous. And so Paramount exercised the option and hit the purchase agreement. And once they're making the movie, they still have to pay you the option fee every year until the thing's done. It's sort of like a get off the pot kind of, do your work or move on sort of thing. And Jeremy and Don Hanfield originally bought it, and I kept the fees really low at the beginning. But I'm like, hey, guys, if this goes on more than like 2-3 years, the fees are going to ramp up really hard. The banker and me cut like a really good contract with the guys that gave us both what we wanted. So they got cheap initial fees, and then if it went too long, I got paid. Well, right as it went too long, I started making a bunch of money. And at some point, the investors were like, why are we giving this kid so much money every year? Right. So at some point, and unfortunately, the renewal date was like always right before the Baja 1000. So like I could always just start emptying the bank account into the car or a race, knowing that I was going to get it reloaded hard in like a week. And then one year they just decided not to renew, and kind of hurt a bit. But yeah, for I don't know 5 years or so, 6 years, they paid me a bunch of money every year, like a stack of cash. Like I'm, they're good guys. Love Jeremy. I run into him every so often here and there. And his 40th birthday party was amazing, like absolutely amazing. So like,
I'm going to interrupt you again here. It's so funny how my life has unfolded, and the opportunities and different people that I've met through motorsports and through my decade of living in Baja and just running in random, strange, different circles.
So jealous you got to do that, dude.
Well,
living in Baja
and believe me, man,
I
recognize it's sometimes more than others, and I took it for granted in some ways back then. But I think it's so interesting how. That story's amazing. So a big company bought the rights to your life story. Like you read about that kind of stuff, but it happened to you. Like that actually happened to you. Was there?
And the funny part is that like it should have been owned by Jalopnik because they're the ones who published the story.
Right.
But Sam Smith was the writer and became the editor of Road and Track and all that. He's the one who built the actual $500 car with me. And he just took all my text messages and published them without really asking. Right. So keep in mind, when I used to live here to WRC Mexico, my friends had like an intervention at my mom's house because they thought I was insane. So like, you can't take a 20-year-old non-FIA homologated car to the WRC that you built in your own garage. Like it's just no. And I yelled at them and just loaded the car in the trailer and I had to go by myself. Like none of my friends came. None of them believed it would go through.
Okay, I'm going to send you a text message. I'm going to send you a text message with a picture of my notes at some point when this is over with. But you're going to see that I wrote a question and I outlined it with my 6-year-old son's green crayons that were sitting on our desk here. Here's the sentence, okay? And this is you're going to understand why I'm interrupting you. Are you as reckless?
Cool.
Are you as recklessly passionate as you appear on social media? And I think I know the answer to that.
Yeah, I think I'm even more passionate than I can even get through in the little sound bites on Instagram. Like, I wish there was more ways for me to
But you missed the word before that, recklessly passionate. And what I mean by that is that it appears that you have thrown caution to the wind and are chasing your passions with disregard for life and limb sometimes. And I don't mean to imply that you're hurting people or a manipulator or a bad person.
No, but
you are doing what you want to do, and they're not in the modern way of looking at through the banker's eyes. They're not necessarily the wisest choices that you're making. But who cares?
No, I call it extreme. I call it extreme optimism. Like you have to believe so foolishly that it's all going to work out that you just do it anyway. Like. You have to just believe that you're going to be able to solve any problem that comes in front of you, that you're going to be able to handle it, that you're going to keep going, that it's going to work. And if you just truly believe, like the problems tend to like solve themselves in some ways. But dude, that year we went to WRC Mexico, I had to rent a van from the local enterprise that had papers to get into Mexico is the one I had rented up here, didn't have that paperwork.
Right.
And the manager showed me a stack of torsos missing arms and legs that had been found in Nuevo Laredo just 2 weeks before we crossed, in the middle of an intersection. And the stack was like 20, 30 torsos. You know, it was 10 feet high. And he's like, dude, you sure you want to do this?
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah. And so, of course, we crossed, unfortunately. But, you know, in order to make the race, we had to cross at night. You know, and everyone told us not to. And sure enough, right when we got across the border, a car turned in front of us and stopped us from going forward, like, you know, thankfully. Because then, like, 20 dudes came out of the Rio with AK-47s and charged the buildings ahead of us. And we were, like, on the back end of a huge machine gun fight. And I had to back the trailer out. I crashed the trailer into the Armco, like, you know, and I didn't have towing mirrors on this van. So I've got like an enclosed trailer with a rental van. I'm trying to back it through like a single lane double Armco barrier thing while dudes are firing machine guns. And let me tell you, machine guns don't sound like they sound in a range or on TV, dude. When there's like 20, 25 guys letting them all go at once, it is it is hell, dude. So yeah, when you say recklessly passionate, yeah, man, like something told me if I could just get the car to the race, they'd let me compete. And that's what happened. And when I got down there, I turned on my data plan and texted all the friends and said it wouldn't happen. It was like, welcome to the worst weekend of your life. I'm in the race and I'm sending you everything the whole way. And then
so we got to put the WRC thing into perspective to listeners that don't know what that is. WRC is like the highest level of rally racing in the world. And
yeah, it's sort of like Formula One, and then you've got teams and manufacturers traveling around the globe in giant cargo planes, like unloading cars and mechanics and the whole deal. You know, it's
so in your ability to get into it. Remind me on this one. There was some like loophole in the rules. Like, how did you actually pull it off?
Yeah, blind luck, extreme optimism. No, but in 2010. There was a change to the rule book to start allowing regional FIA rallies to run alongside the actual WRC class. So for the first time ever, like, you know, you can go to Europe and there'd be a rally in like Germany that's not part of the WRC, that's for Germans, say, and they've got to run an FIA homologated car, like the same cars that you'd find in the WRC. They're just local competitors, and they run a few rounds. They don't want to ship it to Japan and New Zealand and Greece or, you know,
Sure.
Finland and that kind of thing. So they used to always run separately than the WRC round, but as the field was thinning, they decided in 2010 to put them together. Mexico happened to be the very first round where this happened. So it had never been tested, and no one really knew how it was supposed to work.
And this wasn't knowledge that you had in advance and were like strategically leveraging the fact that you just happened to stumble into this opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, like I found one thing on a website down in Mexico that was like written in Spanish that effectively said there was going to be a Rally America class at WRC Mexico. And the series in the States at the time was called Rally America, and being like the typical, like, you know, American, we think it's all about us. I thought that Rally America was based off our rally series in the States. And the reality is that before WRC Mexico showed up, their big, huge national rally was called Rally America. And when WRC showed up, like, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, they renamed it to WRC Mexico. So when they allowed the national class to come back, they called that class Rally America. And they still had to be, you know, so I still had like Subarus and Mitsubishis and all FIA homologated cars. Like, the cars in my class were very real and like proper. It's just that when I showed up, the local Mexicans who were in charge of this national rally, I showed up and they kind of were like, it's our dream. I'm like, yeah, dude. And basically what it was they all sort of joked about what if they took two of their friends and entered them in the race, like kind of illegally, and just figured that was the last year they'd ever run the rally, but two of their friends could compete at the WRC. And then I show up and I'm like exactly what they talk about when they're like drinking beers and having fun. And I'm like, look, all my safety gear is FIA rated. Like, I have everything to check all the stuff in the books. And they're like, are you kidding? And they're like, if you can get your car through FIA Tech, we'll let you race. Right. And now I'm wondering, like, Jesus, I weld every single corner. I mean, I'm really meticulous about my cages and welding, but I'm like, if there's even one cold weld or one little hole that you missed, even a pinhole, you can't race.
Okay, I'm going to stop you again. I'm going to stop you again.
So that's how that whole thing. That story's everywhere.
Well, and that's so. I wanted to say that Bill, whether you've heard of him or not, there's plenty of coverage of his stories here, and not that I don't respect those things and think they're cool.
No, but you can go read them somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know?
So I want to ask you something about this though. Investment banker to build, raise, party, and I know in listening to you, like